Hey, what up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here. I got a couple minutes before I go into work. Last night, I received the sad news as I was about to go to bed about China. And I honestly, it's hard to say. I mean, on one part of me, I didn't want to believe it. And on the other hand, I didn't believe it. But on the other hand, I just honestly really wasn't surprised. China had a great place in wrestling. I think she fit in, perfect, coming in as a part of D-Generation X, coming in being the muscle behind Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Always the images of her coming in and picking up uh, Terry Runnels and just shaking the fuck out of her. I think she did it on the pay-per-view, and then she came back and did it the exact next night on Monday Night Raw to sort of maximize the impact of everyone seeing her before Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley at the time, coming out and saying that Chyna was his new bodyguard. And, how cool this was, that a guy would have a chick as a bodyguard. I mean, so many times when you think of bodyguards in professional wrestling, you think of like Chris Jericho having Mr. Hughes, a guy with really no skill, just really big. He looks intimidating, but then once you put him in the ring to have a match, there's nothing really there. Or even Chris Jericho going with the opposite direction with the WCW, was it Ralphus or Rufus? It was something like that. Just sort of like the joke of a bodyguard, somebody really just there just to make sure that, the Ayatollah of rock and roll doesn't get touched. I don't know. Uh, it's sad that, the best way to put it is what the Blue Meanie put up on Twitter last night, that he was tired of all of his friends dying. And definitely, you can think of China's run. Definitely, Dave Meltzer talked about it on the Wrestling Observer radio today. I'm talking about the fact that, when China was getting brought up and got put in the Intercontinental title feud, and, she was wrestling the guys, she was protected because at the time, Triple H, even though Triple H wasn't what Triple H was today, Triple H was the champion. Triple H had a lot of the ear of Vince McMahon at the time, and basically that's the reason why she was going in there and having matches. You can remember the ones, of course, with Eddie Guerrero. You can remember the ones with Chris Jericho. And actually, I think the Jericho feud with Chyna over the Intercontinental Championship is one of the reasons why Jericho finally caught on. You can remember, Jericho came from WCW, and when he signed to WWE, he came in, being really over. Everybody loved this guy. But within a couple of months, it was like the candle burned out, and WWE really didn't know what to do with Jericho. And he was selling jerseys, he was selling shirts, but they didn't really have a place for him on the card. When you go back and you think about the Chris Jericho DVD that came out around 2010, maybe 2011, he says that basically there was a pay-per-view. I think it was the one in Cleveland, if I'm not certain. The one that had the TLC match between Edge and Christian and the Hardys. That'd be No Mercy, I believe, or something like that. He wasn't on the show. He just wasn't booked because they didn't have a thing for him to do. And after that is when he got into the Chyna feud, and that's when things really started to turn around and really started to heat up for him, because he fully invested in having the matches with Chyna and making sure that they were going to be the best that they could be. But Chyna definitely, she had her ups, she had her downs. If you go watch WrestleMania 17, of course, the big one from the Astrodome, everybody remembers because of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. Chyna has a match with Ivory, and it's for the Women's Championship, and I think that's sort of like the end for Chyna. I don't really know how much longer she lasted. I remember that shortly after that would be the breakup of Triple H and Chyna. She really wouldn't be protected anymore, and of course, Triple H and Stephanie would start having a relationship. And I remember during their wedding deal, they actually had a backstage sort of run-in with each other, with all three of them in the same room at the same time. And I don't really remember what it was about. I don't even remember if maybe Chyna was the heel at the time, and they were sort of having to team up, and they were trying to put the bad blood away, or if it was just for the smarks out there that knew what was going on, just sort of a tip of the hat to them. But it just seemed like he was really, really awkward, and it didn't seem like it fit in the show at all. But I remember when Chyna left, it was supposed to be for greener pastures. She was going to go make a Wonder Woman movie, which I don't know why never got off the ground. I remember her wearing a Wonder Woman outfit to the Oscars or to the Grammys, and her just being lambasted, of just basically put on every worst dressed list for all of the magazine tabloids and things like that. Everyone was taking shots at her. And I don't know if it's that or what it was. The Wonder Woman movie, it never ended up being made, which possibly would have been a great fit for her. I don't know of Chyna being a good actor, but maybe they could have, highlighted the best things about her and made the movie work. But shortly after there is when her life really fell apart. I believe she's featured in the documentary 101 Reasons Not to Be a Professional Wrestler, which is sort of like a documentary which is shot outside of a Los Angeles independent show, which features Chyna. I don't think she's doing drugs, but definitely she is drinking outside of the arena in her car, sort of having an after party after the show, and just getting out of control. And from there, she was on that reality show that was on VH1. I believe it was called The Surreal Life, with all of the different celebrities, and everything sort of fell apart for her. X-Pac showed up, and they had a real stormy relationship that never really worked. And Chyna was able to get out of the wrestling business, fix her life up, and then for some reason she sort of got back into it. I think she even got out of porn. Maybe she ran out of money, or maybe something happened, but she ended up coming back and getting involved, and her life sort of took a downward spiral again. So I'm sad about this. Like I said earlier, I'm not really surprised by this, but man, she's going to be missed. I mean, definitely how I found out was going on Instagram and just flipping through the pictures, and it just was Chyna picture, Chyna picture, Chyna picture, trying to figure out what the hell was going on, because, everybody was sort of negative about her not showing up to WrestleCon, and I didn't really think about it at the time. It wasn't until I got home and I started reading the stories and then remembering all of the people that were so excited to meet Chyna, and I thought that she was a little bit expensive for an $80 combo, I believe is what it was at the time, or maybe $75. Just being surprised that many people were that big of fans of hers to pay for those. But I got to get into work. So, sorry to everybody out there who's a Chyna fan. Those were my thoughts about it all. She definitely will be somebody that will always be remembered when you think about the Attitude Era and the rise of WWE back in the day, and just sort of the different things that they used to do to, make their product different than WCW.